On the road back to the city, Jace followed behind on a donkey, staring at the upright figurehead and feeling that something was strange. Normally, even if Soren simply passed by a doorway, he would practically skin the commoners alive, never letting go of silver, wine, meat, or even other people's daughters. Today, he personally slew a demon. What a perfect excuse. Yet he just left so lightly. Also, earlier at the farmer's house, although it was a sneak attack, given that his body was hollowed out by wine and lust, and he would pant after just a few steps, how could he have stabbed the dog demon so utterly, defenselessly? Jace asked himself honestly. If he had been the one sitting next to the dog demon at that moment, he probably couldn't have done it so cleanly and decisively. He recalled how Soren had casually flipped through the martial arts manual earlier. He hesitated, then spoke up.
Lord Shen, are you also interested in the martial arts of the Demon Suppression Bureau?
Hearing this, Soren turned back, seeing the conflicted look on the young man's face, and remembering how reluctant he had been when handing over the manual in the guardroom. Soren felt a bit speechless. He pulled out the martial arts manual and with a flick, tossed it over, just browsing casually. Here, take it back. Jace caught the manual and subconsciously explained.
This humble subordinate didn't mean it like that. I have some small insights into these 3 martial forms. If you are interested, my lord, I could...
His voice trailed off abruptly. Jace furrowed his brows, not understanding why he had said such words. After all, an important reason he had trained so hard in martial arts in the first place was to use his long blade to cut down the beast before him. How could he possibly be willing to share his martial arts insights with him? He really had changed. From their first interaction this morning, Soren seemed like a completely different person. Every action had taken him by surprise. Could it be that he had a sudden awakening of conscience and was ready to turn over a new leaf? Tie up the donkey and dispose of the fiend corpses too. Back at the county office, Soren stood at the door of the guardroom, a hint of weariness on his face. For 2 consecutive days, his hands had been stained with blood. Although it was demon blood, he still wasn't quite used to it. Fortunately, his predecessor was a rogue constable who normally had no official duties to attend to. Someone like Soren just sitting in the guardroom for a while would be praised by others for being hardworking. He stretched his body a little. Then he stepped inside.
Boss Shen, so early today.
Soren glanced at the blazing midday sun overhead, then slowly shifted his gaze back to the few people in front of him. The one brazenly spouting nonsense was named Zhang Dahu, most trusted by his predecessor. Any dirty or tiring work was handed to him. He could be considered a henchman, together with the few behind him. That was Soren's entire crew. Soren nodded and continued walking into the room. Judging by his predecessor's deeds, it was clear that these lackeys were by no means good people. Aside from bullying the kind, they only knew how to eat, drink, and amuse themselves. As for their martial skills, they could use their official blades to bully ordinary people. But against fiends, they were practically throwing themselves away. Soren had no interest in idle chatter with them. Just as he passed them, unexpectedly, Zhang Dahu trotted up again, with a look of someone seeking credit.
Boss Shen, the thing you asked for has been taken care of.
What thing? Soren was slightly taken aback.
It's using that kid's younger sister to fill the quota for the Vance family's girl.
Zhang Dahu put on a pitiful expression.
You have no idea, boss. In our county, every family hides their daughters well. To meet the number you wanted, we brothers almost ran our legs off over these past few days.
Zhang Dahu wore a big grin.
We arranged things and sent that kid off to 6 Mile Temple Village. Don't worry, he won't be back for 10 days to half a month.
As the words fell, Soren's heart sank slightly, and he suddenly recalled something. Just then, a lean figure also came to a sharp halt before the guardhouse door. Jace removed his conical hat, his gaze utterly lifeless, and quietly raised his head to look at the group. In the next breath, with a flash of self-derision in his eyes, the blade at his waist sang out, leaving its sheath. To hell with turning over a new leaf. To hell with starting anew. A brute is and always will be a brute.
He is back. Protect Lord Shen.
Zhang Dahu let out a panicked shout, and together with the 6 remaining constables, they all drew their sabers, forming a ragged, uneven line in front of Soren.
Username Chan, you've got some nerve. drawing a blade against the boss right inside the oven. If you want to live, put that saber down. Now, hear me.
Jace looked upon the 8 men arrayed against him alone. Yet his eyes held nothing but contempt. After he had painstakingly trained in the martial arts of the Demon Suppression Bureau, these worthless wretches were not even worthy of a single exchange. In a flash, Jace abruptly launched forward 3 steps. Although Zhang Dehu was wary of the other's reputation as a martial prodigy, he relied on their superior numbers, and a savage ruthlessness surged across his face.
I've always found a mongrel like you an eyesore. Now you dare get cocky with us. You're courting death!
These constables had no proper martial skills to speak of, but the sight of 7 gleaming steel sabers slashing out simultaneously was still rather intimidating. Yet Jace didn't even slant his gaze. With a casual swing of his official blade, he effortlessly parried the incoming attacks. Zhang Daho, in his prime and heavily built, normally beat up small traders and peddlers as effortlessly as catching chicks. Now gripping his saber with both hands, sweat beaded on the tip of his nose. But the long blade he was hacking down could not press down even a fraction of an inch further. The next moment, Jace swung his blade again. A sharp silver light erupted, and the crystalline sound of clashing metal sang out as the 7 steel sabers snapped in unison. The constables stumbled backward, clutching their wrists with faces full of horror. The immense force transmitted from the hilts had far exceeded anything they could have imagined.
Protect Lord Shen!
Zhang Dahu had known the man would be tough to handle, but he had never imagined such terror. His voice now turned shrill, shrieking as he retreated. Jace did not pursue them. Instead, he strode unhurriedly up to the last man, his expression utterly detached. Soren stood with his hands hanging loosely, frowning as he watched. Put the saber down first.
Oh, what you've done? Don't beg for mercy!
Jace shook his head, his grip on the saber tightening even further. Rivers and mountains are easy to change, but a man's nature is carved in stone. A dog, in the end, can never quit eating shit. A savage grin tugged at the corner of his lips, and his voice became that of a death-summoning demon.
Sir Shen, be more careful in your next life.
As the words fell, the silver light flashed again. The coldly shimmering long blade was raised high and then hacked down with crushing force, sending the onlookers' hearts leaping into their throats. They barely managed to catch their breath. My, what fine rhetoric. Soren arched an eyebrow. His hand finally rested on his own saber. He did not draw it. He simply grasped the scabbard, and, with an almost casual air, swung it over. The pitch-black scabbard, with exquisite precision, threaded past the silver gleam, and, before the strike could land, settled feather light onto Jace's shoulder. In that instant, Jace's pupils quaked violently. His mind went completely blank, as if he had stumbled into some incomprehensible, supernatural occurrence. His entire body suddenly sank. His knees buckled. Emitting a creaking, grinding noise, the long blade slipped from his hand. He dropped to one knee, breathing in ragged disorder. Both arms braced desperately against the ground, veins bulging and bursting on his neck. He poured every ounce of his strength into moving, yet could not shift a single hair. And the sole cause of it all was that scabbard resting on his shoulder. Jay stared rigidly at the pair of official boots before him, and from the edge of his vision, glanced upward. Within his sight, Soren still wore the same placid expression, his voice utterly undisturbed. I said, "Put the saber down first."